Welcome back to All on the Table. I'm Phatter Phil, and this is Fat Adam.
Good day.
On behalf of GameItAll.com, your one-stop shop for all your gaming and entertainment needs. So today, we will be talking about bluffing games. Not necessarily card games, as it were, but games where a good bluff is necessary to win. The first game we'll be talking about is the quintessential bluffing game. I've loved this game since the first time I played it.
Yep, me too.
I think it's fantastic. It's a game called by Arcane Wonders called Sheriff of Nottingham. It's a beautiful little game where you play the citizens of Sherwood Forest at your market, trying not to get caught by the evil sheriff.
The Friar.
Yep. So you have a slew of different characters, up to five players. So your five players, as you have the maid Marion. You have I believe
Little John, right?
I think that's Will Scarlet.
Oh yes, sorry.
You have Alan of the Dale, which is an obscure Robin Hood character that's not mentioned often. You have some baker dude. I don't remember who he's supposed to be. I think it's Friar Tuck, and then you have like Little John, who's like an innkeeper type guy. Now,
I always have Friar Tuck as the alcohol guy.
Friar Tuck is.
They usually
monk.
portray him as a monk who creates wine.
Yes, well, he's a monk that he's a monk. So, and of course you have the Sheriff of Nottingham token.
You can tell he's been gorging himself on the people's wares.
For whoever the sheriff is, you have these color coordinated little velvet bags.
The quality of the tokens and stuff in this game are actually phenomenal.
It's Arcane Wonders. Arcane Wonders is they do not like
they
they're the
skimp
small
on it,
world
yeah.
guys. It's huge. They take a lot of quality. So the object of the game is there's several different phases.
Nice shot of the fat ass
Sheriff, which is also the cover of the game.
Yep.
So there are several phases in the game. They're pretty simplistic. Basically, the game goes 2 rounds with everyone having a turn as the sheriff. So whoever's playing first gets to be the sheriff for the first round, then everybody else goes to the market, and then the next turn the sheriff passes to the next player, and so forth until everyone's been the sheriff twice. Then you count the point totals for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 5 phases to the game. There's the market phase, the load merchant bag, the declaration, the inspection, and the end of round. The first phase is the market phase.
When you draw your cards?
Yeah, that's when you discard or draw cards in your hand where you load up on goods.
Now, when you discard face up, don't you?
Yes, you discard face up into one of 2 piles.
Yeah. To
2 discard piles. So you have goods. So like you have like Doug, I'm sorry if you're going to watch this and I'm mixing up the cards in your game. I apologize.
I did it with Legendary.
I apologize. So, like, this is cheeses, and then...
Mushroom cheeses. There's cheese, there's apples.
Chicken.
Yeah, chicken.
Of course, we like to joke around and we never call it chicken, we call it cock. Then there's
You're trying to smuggle cock through the line.
Trying to smuggle cock. Cheeses, apples. So yeah, there's the 5 main goods, which are cheese, chicken, bread. 4 main goods. Sorry, cheese, chicken, bread, and apples.
Which are the good goods?
Yeah, which are the legal goods. Then there is such a thing as contraband cards, and these have a red outline. Like this.
There could be like poison apples, I believe.
There's a bunch of the contraband cards. That's essentially what they look like.
There's alcohol, poison apples.
Yeah, there's
crossbow, I believe.
Yeah, there's like mead, silk, a crossbow, golden apples, Gouda cheese, pepper.
Golden apples, godsend.
Pepper. Now the thing about contraband cards is you can put them in there, but you're risking getting caught by the sheriff. Now we'll explain the later phases of the game. So during the market, you discard cards and draw up cards, so you have your hand up to 6 cards. You can either draw directly from the discard pile in order. So if you want that second or third card that's in the discard pile, you have to draw the ones on top of it to get to it. Mm-hmm. Or you can draw blindly from the top of the decks. Now, that's your market phase. Then you have your loading your merchant bag. So during your merchant bag phase, you take up to 5 cards from your hand.
Mm-hmm. You must always have 1 card left.
You can't load. 5 is the max.
Mm-hmm.
Up to 5 cards of any of the cards you have in your hand. You load them into the bag, and then you seal the bag. Once you seal the bag will have these little pins that you clasp, these little plastic pins. So once you seal the bag, you're done. That's it. You cannot open it again until the end of the game, until the end of the round. Now, how this works?
That's it. So make sure you're doing it the way that you really want to before you seal that bag.
Yeah, because once that snap goes, you're done.
And a really bad giveaway, which we've had in the game that we played, is when somebody goes to, oh, wait a second, and then goes to reopen it. You're not allowed.
You're not allowed.
Pretty much guarantees that you're going to get caught.
Yeah. After that, there's the declaration phase. So in sequential order, everyone at the table tells the player of the sheriff what they have in their bag.
I have 4 chicken.
I have 3 apples. And the next guy's like, I have 5
They all have to
bread.
be the same type.
Yeah, you have to declare.
So you can't load your bag with like 2 chicken, 2 apples, and 1 cheese.
Wait.
Sorry, you can't say that you have 2 chickens.
You can't say I have 2 apples, 2 chickens, and a cheese. You have to say I have 2 apples, or I have 3 cheese, or whatever.
And the only rule about loading your bag is you actually have to have the same number of cards that you're claiming you do.
Yeah,
you don't have to have the right goods, but you have to have the same number of cards.
That's right. So if you have like 2 bread and 3 apples, and you say I have 5 apples, well, that's your claim. There's still 5 cards in there, so your claim is 5 apples.
Yeah.
Now, that's the declaration phase. Then there's the inspection phase, and this is where it comes in. This is why it's a bluffing game. So when you do your declaration, you have to bluff the sheriff or tell him the truth. It's your choice. You could legitimately have 5 apples in that bag, or you could have 4 apples and a crossbow, or 4 apples and a cheese, or whatever the hell you actually...
No apples and 5 contraband.
Yeah, whatever you actually put in there. So you're either going to try and bluff the sheriff, or sometimes make him believe that you're doing contraband.
Bribing him.
Well, it comes to the next point. The sheriff picks up the bag, looks it over, weighs it a little. Can't open it yet. Weighs it a little, and he's like, I don't think you have 5 apples in this bag. I think it weighs a little too much to only have 5 apples in it. And then you look at the sheriff, and you can either choose to call him out, like, no, I have 5 apples in there, man, like, whatever.
I don't know what you're talking about, sheriff.
You can bluff him out.
You jackass.
If you legitimately have 5 apples, keep going. But let's say there's something in that bag you don't want the sheriff to see, like a crossbow. Well, then you have the option to bribe the sheriff. And in the game, you get currency at the start of the game, and you can give the sheriff a bribe. However, you don't necessarily have to bribe him with currency. You can bribe him with cards from inside the bag. You can bribe him with cards that you've claimed as points. Mm-hmm. And any type of resource. We've even gotten to the point where if you don't look at my bag this round, I won't look at yours the next time I'm sheriff. And that's a juicy one. That's really hard for people to refuse.
Well, it's hard for the person making the deal, because they really should be careful with that. Because unless you're loading your points, you're basically telling the other sheriff. And I'll be honest, I would probably make that deal, and then I'd still open your bag, knowing that you would load it.
If you take the bribe, you can't open that bag. That's the rule. If the sheriff takes the bribe, he can't open that bag. That's it. That's done. He takes the bribe, he puts it down. Now, the thing you need to remember, though, is that outside of currency and actual products,
real money.
Outside of currency and actual product, the sheriff can refuse that kind of a deal. You can stab that dude in the back later. If you're like, Adam's the sheriff. Adam, if you don't open that bag, I won't open your bag later on. And then Adam's like, deal. And then, so he doesn't open my bag. I get all my contraband items or whatever the fuck I put in there. And then later on, when it's Adam's turn...
that's what I was saying. I could just open his bag anyway.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, do you want to be that much of a tool? Do you want to be that much of a tool? That's your choice. It's part of the game. It's very much of a social game.
Yeah.
Now, after the inspection has passed for all of the people, you look at the results of the inspection. So, if the sheriff looks at the bag and he's like, "Oh, there's 5 apples in here," and you're like, "No, I believe it's 5 apples." All right, whatever. Once he lets the bag pass, he then takes the goods. You take your goods that you put in your bag.
You reveal them.
You open it up. Not necessarily. You reveal whatever goods are legal that you've claimed. So if you do have 5 apples in your hand, you put your 5 apples and you put them on the table on your scorecard. On your scorecard, your character sheet has little scorecards all the way on the sides here.
Yeah, one for each of the 4 goods.
One for each of the 4 goods, and then one on top for contraband.
That's where you keep the contraband face down.
Face down, so people don't see what you have. Now,
I think unless it's the golden apple, right?
No, even then, it's just at the end of the game.
It's at the end of the game. I thought it was just for that round.
Some of the contraband have the same categorization as regular goods, which will take in effect at the end of the game. So, for example, if you put your contraband pumpernickel bread in your bag and you claim it and you score it as a contraband, later on at the end of the game, when you count to see who has the most of every good, it counts as 3 bread, one card. And like the Royal Rooster counts as 2 chickens. The Golden Apple count as 3 apple. The Blue Cheese counts as 3 cheese, and so forth and so forth.
The crossbow should let you shoot someone in the face with the crossbow.
No, the crossbow is just a 7-point card, which is ridiculous, which is really high 9 points, sorry. The crossbow's like a 9-point card.
Yeah, I think it's tied for the highest card in the game.
It is the highest card in the game. The mead is the second highest with an 8, with a 7.
Pumpernickel bread's 9 too.
Is it not? Oh shit, pumpernickel bread's 9 too. Oh well, that's
I think there's only 1 pumpernickel bread too, right?
No, I think there's 2 or 3. Anyways, the point is, after that phase, after the declaration phase, if you're legitimate, you score your apples. If you have a contraband, you score your apples and your contraband.
You put your contraband.
Whatever green cards, whatever one of the legitimate goods that were in your bag that you score, you put face up. Any contraband, you put face down on your contraband section. Now,
any goods that you put face up, you get money for.
At the end of the game.
Yeah.
So, now, in this case, if the sheriff sees you and he lets you pass and he saw you have contraband, well, he knows that you're a bluffing, untrustworthy, lying bastard.
Yep.
And he won't trust you again during the second round.
Which I'll guarantee you're not going to get through this entire game without lying at least once.
At least once. Everyone gets 2 rounds as the sheriff.
Yeah. Unless you're doing 1 item per turn and you're just fucking your game over.
Yeah. During the inspection thing, if you think you've successfully bluffed the sheriff and then the sheriff just goes, "You know what, I don't believe you," and he opens your bag.
Once he cracks the seal, he's no longer allowed to make a deal with you.
Yeah, you're no longer allowed to make a deal with the sheriff. Then he looks at the stuff inside the bag.
Now, if you were telling
the truth, there's a fine at the bottom of each the card. It's like a little red thing. The sheriff must pay that fine to you out of his own money. So, whatever he's wrong, he has to pay that much. So if I actually did say I had 4 cheese, and he opens up the bag, and I do have 4 cheese, he has to pay me 8 gold, because each cheese is 2 points. That's what's written on it. So that's how you make your money back from the sheriff.
Now, if you're lying.
However, if the sheriff reveals your bag and you're lying, he gets to score all your legal contraband, all your legal goods. The sheriff just takes them and scores them on his own pad, and then you have to pay a fine equal to to whatever contraband or whatever it was in there that you claimed you had that is wrong. So, like, a lot of contraband is like 5 points or 9 points.
So much money.
Yeah, and the sheriff gets that money because you have to pay the fine. After that phase, the last phase is what's the last phase?
The last phase is just the. Why isn't it back here?
This is at the
beginning. End of the round.
End of the round. At the end of the round, everyone.
And if you're only playing with 3 people, then you actually do 3 times around the board.
Yeah, everyone redraws their cards back to your full 6-hand card. 6-card hand, sorry. Now, Sheriff of Nottingham is a fantastic little game. I first played it a while ago with my buddy.
You gave one small incorrect ruling.
What?
If you are lying, any goods that you did declare truthfully, you keep.
Yeah?
You said that you gave them to the sheriff.
I thought you gave them to the sheriff.
Oh, apparently, yeah. You get to keep them and put them to your merchant stand face up. However, any goods that you do not truthfully declare are confiscated. He takes all of those and puts them in one of the discard piles in any order he chooses, and then you pay a fine for all confiscated goods.
I guess the sheriff just gets money. I like the goods version better.
Yeah, I don't like that. That really doesn't seem like there's a huge downside to lying.
Well, you have to pay the fine. The sheriff does get that money, and that does count towards the
Yeah, but
money.
only for confiscated goods.
Yeah. Yeah, so
anything
anything
if you're only lying
anything that
about one
wasn't...
thing, you just pay a tiny little fine, but you still get those other 4 things through.
Yeah, but I mean, if I said I
prefer the goods.
if I said I have 5 cheese, and there's like 3 cheese and 2 chickens there, I don't get those 2 chickens, and I have to pay the fine on each of those chickens.
Oh yes, I agree. I actually think I prefer him confiscating the goods.
The sheriff confiscating goods.
I think
Yeah,
I think I'd house rule that one.
Although I think getting the gold and the goods is kind of
Maybe
too much of a swing. Because the thing is how you win the game is at the end of the game, you figure out who has the most of each good each good. So whoever, and you're declared the king of that good. So if you have the most
Or the
apples,
queen,
whatever,
if you're second.
who cares? Whoever has the most apples is the king of apples. Whoever has the most cheese is the king of cheese, and so forth. And then whoever's in second place is the queen, I guess. Whatever.
Well, because there's actually a significant bonus for the queen as well.
Yeah. So you get bonus points based on whether or not you're the king of whatever particular good. And then if you have contraband that count towards it, you count the contraband too. So if you have like the pumpernickel bread, like I mentioned earlier, it counts as 3 bread towards the total of determining who the king of bread is. Now you count all of that up, you get your bonus points for whoever's the king of whatever, then you count your actual points on your goods. All the goods have actual monetary value other than the fine, so you count those up, and then you count how much actual money tokens you actually have, your actual gold. Then when you total all of that up, you determine who wins by whoever has the highest point value. Once you learn to play it, you can hammer out a game real friggin' quick. Really, I've hammered out games of Sheriff in less than an hour. It's a ton of fun. The bribing thing is great. If you have a bunch of friends that you like to tease each other, you like to throw some sick burns around.
Do you play with the inspection time limit?
There should be. You should.
1 minute for each player that you are inspecting.
Yeah.
So essentially, if it's a 4-player game, the sheriff gets 3 minutes to decide whether or not he wants to inspect.
Yep.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, you can't, because, fuck, man, I'll just sit there, and then the other guy will grow impatient and be like, fuck. It's
that is, in my opinion, the longest part of the game. Longer than deciding, longer than anything else, is deciding whether or not you want to...
You want to actually crack that guy open?
That's it. Because it really can make or break the game. And I can tell you right now, if you're the sheriff and you never catch anybody, or you never bother trying to catch anybody, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And if you're the sheriff and you're catching everybody, like you're picking on everyone, again, you're probably going to lose. It's very, very... It's an extremely good bluffing game, but there's so much strategy involved. You have to know your friends.
Well, any bluffing game involves a bunch of strategy. It's
True.
the bluff, right? So most of the time, this game is not very expensive. It won a Board Game of the Year, the Origin Awards, in 2015 when it came out. So the game's not that old.
I don't know.
Yep, and it's been quite the hit. If you really want to have a good time bluffing your buddies and just playing a quick little game, play Sheriff of Nottingham.
Really fun. Yeah, first time I ever played it, absolutely loved it, and I've played it a few times since. We actually ended up playing it more than one time that first night.
Yeah, I've played it multiple times in the night too.
Yeah.
It's just tons of fun.
Which is rare for a game, I find. Especially a game that sometimes will take half an hour to an hour. Most of the times you don't end up replaying that game the same night. You'll play it a different night again, but this one was fun enough that, played it I think 3 times in one night.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Keep in mind it took us longer than an hour because it was our first to third times playing it. But Phil is right. By the third time that we played, so the first time that we played took us about an hour and a half, give or take, because there's a lot of rule reading and figuring it out and yada yada yada. Second time and third time was probably about an hour. There was 5 of us.
I give Sheriff 4 out of 5. It's not for everyone. Not everybody understands the bluffing. I've played with players who just
Laugh the whole time.
are just terrible at bluffing or or just complete fucking tools, you know.
See, I'm great at bluffing. I'm terrible at these.
Those? Well, we'll talk about those after. So if someone's like just doesn't care, doesn't want to play the game right, it's gonna not be a good experience, and it really isn't for everyone. Some people just have obvious tells, and you know, or sad to say, some people might not be, you know, clever enough to play this game properly. It is what it is.
You seem to be speaking from experience.
Yeah, I am. But
whoever you are out there, you know who you are. Overall, the game's fantastic. It really is solid. Great mechanism, and there's a lot of variants out there. There's a lot of rules for alternate play styles of Sheriff. You can throw in some house rules in there if you want to alter the game. So yeah, I give it a 4 out of 5. Yeah, I would give it the exact same.
Yeah.
For the exact same reasons. The only reason I can't make it a perfect game, I mean, I've never played a perfect game myself. And number 2, as Phil said, it's made for most people, but there are going to be some people out there who just either won't be interested or just won't understand the concept of it.
Yeah, they just won't get it. And it's sad, but whatever. It is what it is. So that's it for Sheriff of Nottingham. The next set of games, I should say, that are on the block here.
Because they're basically the same damn game.
They're the same game, except that it's a reskin.
They're both from the same company, too, right?
Yeah, it's the same game.
Yeah.
It's the same
game.
game.
Avalon has a little bit of additional, doesn't it? Like
Yeah, but it's the same game. It's the Resistance Avalon.
Oh! Did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first one we're going to talk about is the Resistance. The Resistance is another fantastic little social party game. The Resistance.
La Resistance.
You basically play...
I got it.
You have 2 teams. You can play, what is it, 5 to 10 players?
You can play up to 10. There is an expansion to play more.
Jesus.
But with the regular rules...
yeah, you can play a lot of players.
Now, I do want to toss out, and I knew I was going to have to do this. I'm getting up, because I got to show you some close-ups of... we got White Morpheus. We have, like, the artwork is not the greatest of all the games that I've played. We have Punk Rock Dracula. But my personal favorite, we have slightly older Captain America, who's actually evil in this game. If you haven't been able to tell so far, red background means evil, blue background means good. And, of course, there's only, like, 3 female characters in this game, which is another one of those, I don't know why you're doing it that way, but whatever. And they basically have to make one of them Yuna from Final Fantasy. And then one of them, the ridiculously big-breasted, red-headed chick, which makes absolutely no sense for a Resistance, but sure.
What?
Anyway, that's just some of the examples of the artwork.
Technically, Black Widow is a ridiculously big-breasted, red-haired chick.
She's not huge-breasted. She's
Decent.
Average-breasted.
She's decent.
In the movie, she's Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, right. But in Marvel Comics,
I'll give it to you.
She's ridiculous.
She's the dick.
She's ridiculous. So the Resistance is a game where you have 5 to 10 players. Depending on how many players there is a team of people who are on the spy team.
Yep.
And a team of people who are part of the Resistance.
They're all different boards, so this would be for 5 players, this would be for 6. It tells you basically on the board what it tells you is how many people will be on each mission, whether it's between 2 and I think the most is 5. Yeah. Between 2 and 5 people around the table. It'll also tell you in the bottom how many players it's made for and how many spies there should be, depending on how many players there are. So the least amount of spies is 2 in a 5-player game, and the most amount of spies is 4 in a 10-player game. But only 3 in a 9-player game. I feel like 9 would be really fucking difficult.
It might be.
3 on 6. And the highest mission's to send 5. See, that's the thing about the 5-person mission. So if you're only playing 5 players, there's missions where you have to send 3 people on, okay? And try to pass these missions. 3. Keep in mind, only 3 of the 5 are good people.
So to further explain that,
yeah, to actually get into what that means.
At the beginning of the game, everyone gets assigned a role at random depending on how many players there are. So the wonderful cards that you showed you earlier with the blue cards. Yeah, the blue cards are the good team. They're the Resistance. and the red team are spies. In this case, I think it's like some evil corporation in a cyberpunk world, and they're basically there to stop the resistance from succeeding. Now, everyone gets these cards randomly distributed to them. Then at the beginning of the game, whoever's chosen to do so narrates the opening of the game, which is basically all the spies. Everyone closes their eyes.
The leader is given that token.
Everyone closes their eyes. Everyone who's a spy holds their hand out. Then everyone who's a spy opens their eyes. Then they get to see who each other are. Then all the spies close your eyes, all the spies take your hands back, and then everyone open their eyes. So like that, all the spies know who they are, but none of the members of the Resistance know who the spies are.
In this version of the Resistance, the spies do not put their hands out.
Well, there's got to be a way for the other spies to know.
You look at each other.
Well, it's the same thing.
There is no Merlin in this one. Because this game, the reason that you put your hand out is because there's actually a character who works with the spies, but the spies aren't allowed to know who it is, isn't it?
No, I'll explain when we get to Avalon.
But see, the Resistance just
basically the spies know who they are, and the Resistance doesn't know who the spies are. Now, the game has so when you start the game, you have a bunch of missions. The object of the game for the Resistance is to succeed at 3 missions, and the object of the game for the spies is to fail a certain amount.
Missions.
To fail 3 missions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
First person to 3.
First person to 3. Now, how it works is every turn there's a player, and it just like Sheriff of Nottingham, it changes every turn, who is the leader. Now, this person looks around the table, and he gets to decide 3 people, or however many people is on the mission, to go on the mission. So in this case, the first number is a 2, so he gets to choose 2 people at the table to send on the mission.
He hands out these sexy little gun tokens.
Yeah, and then that person gets to choose it. Then everyone gets to vote based on what they know about everyone around the table, who, if that team is accepted or not to go on this mission.
Majority rules.
The majority rules.
If it is a tie goes to the rejects.
Yeah. So if there's a tie, you get rejected.
So here's the thing about rejecting.
Yeah.
Which is actually super bad as well.
Yeah. When you reject,
there's a counter at the bottom of the sheet.
At the bottom of the sheet here.
It goes up to turn 5. Yeah. So essentially, if the Resistance, or if the corporation can convince you to reject the team 5 times in a row, they get an automatic victory.
Oh no, dude. It's worse.
No, victory, like the whole game.
Oh yeah, they win the game.
They win the game.
If the players decide 5 times not to send a team on the mission, the game's over and the spies win.
La Résistance loses.
So that's part of the strategy there. Now, everybody votes to see if the team's accepted. If the team's accepted, then if the team's denied, then the leader token moves to the next player, and then he gets to choose people to go on the team, and this gets a token on it.
Token goes to number 1.
The token goes to number 1. It starts at number 1.
I think it only goes to number 1 after the first failed one.
No, it starts at number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goes to number 2 then.
Then it goes to number 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and then the 5th vote fails, and you're out.
To be honest, no matter how desperate you are at that point, the people who are not
obviously if you get to
corporation
4
members should just fucking, even if they know it's going to fail, still pass it, so at least you get to keep playing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you lose. Because it doesn't have to be 5 for the whole game, it's 5 in a row. So if you fail 4, and then the 5th mission happens, we lose whatever, then it goes on to the next one, you can fail 4 more.
Yes. So if the vote is successful, and the team can go on the mission, then the players that are on the mission each get a copy of these vote cards, a red one and a blue one, which is success or fail. In secret, whoever's on the mission chooses one of the chooses a success or a fail card, pushes it face down, and passes it over to the leader. Then the leader finds a way to randomize them so you don't know what card came from who, and then you reveal the 2 cards. If at any point, normally, there is a fail card, then the mission fails, and the mission goes to the spies. The spies score it.
Yep. Unless the mission specifically states that there has to be 2 fails.
Yeah, in higher...
You won't get that until I think...
yeah, it's like
level
5
8.
or 6 players.
I think it's... Oh no, level 7. So 5 and 6 doesn't have it, but level 7 has one of them.
Yep. So,
level 7 has one on the 4th mission.
Level 7. So, once there's 7 players, some missions need 2 fails to fail, to lose. But most of the time, it's 1.
Which 2 missions to fail is actually hard to coordinate with your teammates.
Sometimes.
Because at that point, there's like 3 spies, and you don't want all 3 of you to play those cards, because there's usually only 4 people in the mission. So if 3 people play fails, well, we only really got to pick one of you that we don't think the spy is.
Yeah. So, that's part of the game. It's the strategy of the game.
Oh, that's it.
So, however, if there are no fails, then the mission is success, and the resistance scores the mission instead of the spies. And like we said, the first team to score 3 missions wins.
Now, we should state, the resistance must play success.
Yeah, if you are a member of the
period.
resistance, you have no choice. You will play a blue card. You
still have to act like you're mixing it up. Like, be part of the game. You don't want to just come right out and go, oh, I have to play this one every time. Like, that's not the right way to play the game.
Well, I've done that. I've been like, well, I've been a spy and been like, well, obviously...
No, that's it. It's a good
time
and
then I step back, because you have to act like you're one of the good guys.
Well, that's it. You don't want to act sketchy.
That's part of the game. That's part of the bluffing aspect of the game.
As we talk about bluffing games, any bluffing game, if you act sketchy, you're going to get caught.
At the end of this, when you decide whether the mission succeeds or fails, then the token is passed to the next person. Now, the thing about the resistance is there's a lot of diplomacy in talking. So when the leader gets his leader token and he gets to choose who goes on what mission, the leader gets to ask some questions around the table. Mm-hmm. Like, why should I send you on this mission? And then you have to convince the leader why you should send this. Because I'm a great guy. I'm part of the resistance. And last time I was on a mission, it succeeded. Or
I'm clearly the only one who fights for this resistance.
Yeah, and so forth and so forth. And, so that's why the spies sometimes they'll pass missions just to do a little bluff. And I've done that. We've won.
Well, I've usually seen pretty much every game I've ever played. The first mission always passes.
Well, usually, you don't.
Especially when you're playing with a smaller game because there's only 2 people on the mission.
Yeah, like you have to understand the first people you pick usually between 2 and 3 people for the first mission, and if the mission fails, well, guess what? None of those people are going to probably be picked to go on another mission unless they can help it. Let's say you pick in 3 people to go on a mission. It would just happen once. Pick 3 people to go on a mission turn 1, and 2 people voted a fail card. Guess what? Those 3 people were never asked to go on another mission again.
Yep, and that's what I mean. You can burn the bridge super quick.
Yeah. Because you know that 2 of those 3 people are the enemy and should not be put on the mission. Sometimes it turns into a real easy win for the resistance. Yeah. But again, that's the part of the game. The thing is the spies can't really communicate with each other. They can't tell each other.
You have to do it visually and with hand signals.
Yeah, like
that nobody else sees.
That nobody else sees, but everybody's watching everybody. So it's hard to do. You can.
I always have a secret code. The very first time I ever played Resistance, because I didn't know how it was going to be played, so I literally made a secret signal with each individual one of my friends, a separate signal for each one, depending on who it was, to see who the spy was. Like if I was the spy. So if I scratched my chin, it was Greg. If I scratched my nose, it was Vera.
That's cheating.
No. I was signaling them so that they would know. Like if I knew Vera was the other spy, I would scratch my nose when I was going to play my fail card, so she wouldn't play hers.
It's still cheating. It's not part of the game.
Why? It says you can communicate with your spies in any way possible.
I guess.
And try not to get caught.
The easiest way to do that would be when you put your hand on the table, right? You either put your hand flat like this to say I'm going to vote fail, or you put your hand down like this, I'm going to vote, or without your thumb, or hide a finger.
My thing was I had to come up with
hide a finger or don't hide a finger.
My thing was I had to come up with a separate way for all 4 people.
Or hand closed, hand open.
Because if I gave everyone the same thing, if I told everyone the same thing to look for, then all of them would be looking for me to be the spy the whole game.
Why?
Because if I was like, no matter which one of you is the spy, if I put my hand open, that means I'm going to vote fail, then all 4 members who aren't spies are going to be looking at me to put my hand open or closed. I did the scratch the face because I didn't know who was going to be the spy. So I did it knowing that whichever one of them was the spy, we had a different signal than I had with everybody else.
I suppose.
It made the game more complex than it
Well, anyways, whatever you figure out, you can just do it that way.
That's it. It worked.
So I've had a lot of fun playing this game.
Love this game.
Ton of fun, but
another game you can play a whole bunch in a row just because it's quick.
It's quick. It's really fast. Like once you learn the rules and how it goes, like you play it super fast.
How long does it say it takes? It says it takes like 15 to 30 minutes. I would say closer to the 15 side.
Yeah.
Once you get used to it.
Once you get used to it. So it's a great game. People can talk to each other.
5 to 10 minutes.
And yell at each other and things like that. So. But it's great. The Resistance has a bunch of expansions for it where people can get roles. Like, you have different power cards where you have to play a certain way.
There was powers in this.
Yeah, so I saw it. And there's expansions that let you have it too.
Avalon takes the role level to a much higher level.
The Resistance is a great game. 3.5 for sure. Solid 3.5, almost a 4. Almost a 4 because, I don't know, the Resistance, just the Resistance, to me, I don't find it that good. I find this version way better. So the next game we're going to talk about is Avalon. The Resistance Avalon. Ooh, look at the pretty princess. It's Prince Guinevere or something like that.
Thankfully, about half of what we were going to talk about is
That's
identical.
all we're going to talk about. It's
identical.
It's the same concept as the Resistance with the mission cards. Scoring.
This is a more futuristic theme. That's a more medieval theme.
Yeah. In this theme, you are King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
Yep.
And you are on a mission to find the Holy Grail.
Including the Evil Knights.
Including the Evil Knights. Well, the Evil Knights are called Minions of Mordred. So it's the same concept of Avalon, except you're either Knight of the Round or a Minion of Mordred. Now, the thing about Avalon is you can choose to play without them, but it doesn't make the game as fun. There are specific roles for every person who joins the game, and the thing about it is there's normally like the spies and the servants of Arthur, but there are 2 more cards that are unique to this, that are the first unique to this game that make it a very different flavor: the Assassin and Merlin. The
Assassin's an asshole.
I should say Merlin. Merlin is a member of the Knights of the Round Table who knows who the Minions of Mordred are. So when the Minions of Mordred look at each other around the table, you have your hand out. So then when the Minions of Mordred close their eyes, Merlin opens his eyes and sees who the Minions of Mordred is. Now, what's to stop Merlin from telling everybody, hey, I'm Merlin and all these guys are evil?
I'll tell you what's to stop Merlin.
The
fucking
assassin. The assassin's objective in the game, other than being a member of the Minions of Mordred,
is to
Merlin. Figure out who Merlin is. Because at the end of the game, even if the Knights of the Round win, if the assassin figures out, the assassin knows who the other minions are. Yeah, you're a minion of Mordred.
Okay.
Even the other minions don't know who the assassin is, right? If the assassin can figure out which one around the table is Merlin, evil wins anyways.
Yep. You could win 3 in a row. Assassin takes out Merlin. Doesn't matter. Game done.
And funny story.
Yeah, that's happened to us too.
Funny story about that. We were playing on my birthday, and we had a 10-player game going. Like everybody was playing. Mm-hmm. All the roles were around and stuff. And I had gotten the assassin. So we were doing pretty good. It was like 2-2, but one of my friends, Pat, one of my coworkers, he was like right intense, and he had ended up figuring out at the end that I was evil. And the reason why he figured it out is the way he was talking. About halfway through, he had had a couple to drink, and I figured out he was Merlin. So he just starts losing it. He just starts, freaking out, and he's like telling everybody, he's like, "Phil's evil, man. I'm telling you, Phil's evil. He's the last guy we haven't figured out. He's the evil guy, man. I'm telling you, you can't put Phil on the mission." And sure enough, they didn't put me on the mission. And then he was like, and then everybody reveals the Minions of Mordred card, and I hold it back, and I'm like, "You're right, Pat. I'm evil." And he's like, Yeah, I told you. I fucking told you Phil was evil. And I was like, "But it's a shame, Merlin." And I flip over my assassin card. damn near started crying, called me evil as fuck, like I'm a terrible person, like just cursing me to the ends of the earth because he...
Alcohol-fueled amazing times.
And, yes, but it was a great time. We loved it. Like, we even talk about it fondly to this day. Like, it was a great thing, and he loves playing this game. There's a couple other role cards, but the Merlin Assassin dichotomy is
those
essentially...
two you need to play.
Is to play the Avalon version very well. It adds an entire depth of strategy to it that's even better. Now, there are other role cards in the game, way simpler than the Resistance rolls. The other role cards in the game is Percival. Now, Percival knows who Merlin is. Merlin doesn't know who Percival is, but Percival knows who Merlin is, and Percival's job is to take the aggro off of Merlin. Because if you're Merlin, you're going to constantly try to convince the other players about who is evil. And most of the time, what you're saying is going to come clear. Mm-hmm. So what Percival needs to do is get all the attention on himself, so that when the assassin finally does try to kill Merlin at the end of the game, he's going to try and kill Percival instead, saving Merlin and saving the game for the good guys.
Does Percival still win if he gets assassinated?
Yes. It's Merlin that has to be assassinated for the good guys to lose.
So what we're learning, ladies and gentlemen, is that Merlin is a necromancer. He'll just bring Percival back to life. Who's the real bad guys here?
Then the next role is Morgana.
Oh.
You play Morgana when Percival's in the game, and Morgana appears as Merlin. So Percival has to figure out if either Morgana or Merlin, which one is which. Is the Morgana the bad guy?
And does Morgana know which one Merlin is?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Morgana
and Merlin
appears...
doesn't know which one Morgana is.
Yeah.
Oh, Merlin does.
Merlin knows she's a bad guy, but he doesn't know she has the role of Morgana.
That's
but it doesn't matter. Like the only person
Percival would know the two of them.
Yeah. Percival would know that there's both Merlin and Morgana, so it makes it harder for another side. Basically, each of the cards makes it harder or easier for another side to win.
That's fair.
Then there's Mordred, and Mordred's power is that he is unknown to Merlin. He is one of the villains that Merlin doesn't know is on the table.
Fucking Mordred.
And then finally...
He looks like an emo goth.
Yes, that's the look. And then finally, you have Oberon.
There's so many evil characters.
King of the Fairies. But Oberon makes it harder for the evil guys to win. Because Oberon is an evil person that the evil people don't know is there. So the evil people don't know... Like, Oberon knows who all the other evil guys are, but the other evil guys don't know that Oberon's one of them.
Shit.
Yeah. So the evil guys don't know that Oberon... Like, Oberon will vote for bad, can vote for bad. Yeah. He wants the evil guys to win, but...
But he doesn't want to come right out and say it either.
Well, no.
Because then he just won't get put on the mission.
Because he'll never be put on the mission. And the evil guys don't know that he's there. He's like a secret guy. So, yeah. So that's essentially the difference between Avalon and the Resistance. Avalon has all the other...
Oh, it also says he does not gain knowledge of the other evil players at the start of the game either, so he doesn't know who they are.
So it's even worse.
Shit.
So it's even worse.
Yeah, that's so much worse.
Yeah, so it kind of... basically, if ever there's any game you're playing where the bad guys are too strong, throw Oberon in there.
Says Oberon will make the good side more powerful and win more often.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's essentially the game. There's one other role called the Lady in the Lake that's kind of weird, but she's like an alternate role in the game. I have never played with her, so I don't know what she really does that much. I do, but I don't. But this is a fantastic game to have over shots, to have like while you're drinking. It makes it a little harder to play once you're drinking.
I would like to play this when I'm drunk.
Yeah, but I mean, how good can you bluff when you're drunk?
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I'm probably going to play this again on my birthday in a few weeks, so...
It's a good game.
Yeah. So the Lady of the Lake token is an optional player ability. The player with Lady of the Lake will be able to look at the loyalty of another player, so that person will be able to tell what the other player is, if they're a minion of Mordred or if they're a Knight of the Round. The player that has this ability is open information. At the beginning of the game, give the Lady of Lake to the player on the leader's right. Then immediately after the second, third, or fourth quest resolved, the player with the Lady of the Lake token will choose one player to examine. The player examined will receive a pair of loyalty cards and pass that corresponds to the loyalty of their character to the Lady of the Lake. Using the wrong loyalty card will result in losing the game. The Lady of the Lake may discuss but not reveal the loyalty card passed. The player being examined receives the Lady of the Lake token. The Lady of the Lake will only be used 3 times in the game. A player that used the Lady of the Lake cannot have the lady used on them.
Jesus.
So she adds a little bit of... she takes away some
flavor. I like
a little
that.
more flavor. We haven't played with her yet. Maybe next time we will. So yeah, it's the best variant of the Resistance I've ever played. The Merlin, the Mordred, the Assassin roles are the Merlin and the Assassin most of all are just fantastic add-ons to the Resistance.
Oh yeah, they're especially good characters.
Yeah, the Sheriff of Nottingham is usually around $40 to $60 depending on where you're going. But Avalon and the Resistance, less than 20.
Yeah, I was gonna say 15 to 20.
No, less than 20. They're more than 15. There's more pieces to them. So usually they're 20 to 25, I'd say, at most places. Maybe 30 if you go to certain big name game retailers.
Yeah. Don't go directly there.
That we won't mention their names. But anyways, yeah. So bluffing games can be super fun with the right group of people.
Yeah. You need to have a group that's interested and a group that's willing to commit to the story.
Yeah, well,
when you have a group of people where there's only 3 or 4 people who care and the rest of them just really don't give a shit, it's just another game to them, bluffing games aren't as fun. They're really not.
He's right.
Especially the big 10-player games.
Yeah, the big 10-player games like Avalon, but usually we have a pretty good group to do it. I have played a couple games of this with people who don't understand it. Again, same as Sheriff. They don't understand the concept of bluffing and things like that, But it is what it is.
That's it.
Did Avalon win any awards? Avalon didn't, but I'm pretty sure the Resistance did at some point.
It's not on here.
Maybe it didn't. But yeah, they're 5 to 10 players, 30-minute plays, so, really quick. It is one of those party games that you can play over and over again. This time I'm the bad guy, this time I'm the good guy, and so forth. So, yeah, I give the Avalon a solid 4.5. I love this game. I think it's so great, and it's so good, and it's so much fun. It's almost perfect. Almost. But sometimes not finding the right group of players can be a hindrance.
Yep, I give it a 4.
Other bluffing games are out there.
Coup
is another one.
Made by the same company as the Resistance and everything.
I've never played Coup, so I can't really comment on it that much.
Super fun, but just far, far too quick. Think Love Letter, only, I don't know, think Love Letter mixed, basically the extremely quick rundown of Coup is that you're dealt 2 cards at the beginning of the game. In the game there are, depending on how many people are playing, but let's say you're playing with 4 people, there are 5 of 5 different types of cards. So there's 5 different types of cards, 5 of each in the deck. And then what happens, there's an assassin card, there's a duke card. Duke basically means you can take 3 money at the beginning of your turn, or assassin means you can pay 3 and kill someone, or if you gain 7 you can just instantly kill someone. But the thing is, when you're playing the game, you can claim you have any one of those 5. It doesn't matter which ones you claim. If I'm lying and you call me out on it, I have to kill one of my 2 characters. I lose a life, which is my influence. So I have 2 characters with 2 lives. So if I say I have the Duke, I grab 3 coins, you're like, I don't believe you have the Duke. I'm like, well, shit, if I don't have the Duke, my card's gone. But if I reveal the Duke, you now lose one of your lives, but I have to put my Duke back into the pile, into the discard pile, take a new card, and then shuffle the discard pile back in.
Okay.
So essentially, if I only have 1 card left and it's the Assassin, you have 2 cards left, I assassinate one of your characters, you can call me out on my shit. That's where the double, that's my favorite move in the entire game, is I assassinate one of your characters, you tell me you don't believe me, guess what? I reveal my assassin, you now lose both of your characters. You're right.
Oof.
Because I killed you with my assassin, because their ability still goes through if you're not lying, and then you lose a character for calling me on a bluff that wasn't true. You can wipe somebody out of the game in 1 turn.
Sounds
It's
interesting.
extremely fast paced. I've never seen a game last longer than 10 minutes, and that's with all new people learning how to play the game. Unless you had the expansion, in which case the Inquisitor just fucks things up.
So yeah, a lot of games do have a bluffing element. Like even some of the ones that we discussed, card games like Love Letter does have a bluffing element.
Yeah, it does.
You can bluff some cards.
You have to
that
be careful
play.
what you reveal.
But these games are pure bluffing. The main mechanics of both these games are bluffing and convincing people that you're not.
Yep.
Or convincing people that, you know...
You will not win this game if you cannot convince at least a few people that you're telling the truth. Especially when you're a bad guy. If you're one of those people who, as Phil said, you don't have a poker face, ooh, you're going to have a rough time playing this game.
But if you do, or if you're okay at it, then you're going to love the shit out of these. These are really good. I have a really good record with Avalon, the Resistance Avalon, actually. I've definitely won more than I've lost.
There you go.
On either side. On both the good and the bad side. I guess I just get it. I just like the game.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I just like the game. I've been Merlin a handful of occasions. I've been the Assassin a handful of occasions, you know. Whenever I've been the Assassin, though, I've won, so...
Oh, well, I've never gotten to play the Assassin.
Yeah.
I always end up getting Merlin, which is really hard for me because I don't like being a main character because I always fucking reveal something I shouldn't.
Well, the thing, the point
Pretty sure Phil's a minion of Mordred. How do you know that? I just do.
But see, the thing is if you're Merlin and you've been observing the game, you should be able to deduce a reason why you could tell people.
Well, that's it. I usually reveal it right off the get-go.
Well, you should.
Because I'm dumb when I'm Merlin.
Yeah.
I'm really dumb.
Maybe.
Anyway.
But also, you should try and... Like, that's the thing, right? You want your Avalon people to know you're Merlin. You want the good guys to know you're Merlin, but you want the bad guys not to. So... It's like whenever you vote...
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, whenever you vote to whether or not the team's going to go on the mission, you have to really... Your vote has to be legit, you know? Like, that's the thing about Avalon, is you're always looking around. You're always trying to figure out who's Merlin. You're always trying to figure out who the bad guys are. Because both of those, knowing both of those, lets you win the game. And, yeah.
Easy enough.
So yeah, this is Bluffing Games. So this was our episode this week.
Next week we will be doing.
I'd like to thank. Hold on. I'd like to thank some of my friends for loaning me certain games that I don't own, like Sheriff. I don't own Sheriff, but I borrowed it from my friend Doug. I do own Avalon, and Adam owns the Resistance. So yeah, these are always great, awesome party games. Most of the time, they're easy to learn.
Especially in a world where looking for really good party games, like quick party games, it's not as easy as it used to be. Because now it's almost overflooded with just crap games.
Well, just games with excessive...
We should do a week of crap party games.
No.
Just talk about like the games that we hated.
Fuck Monopoly. I hate Monopoly.
Fucking like every old game. Monopoly, Candyland, Scrabble. Fuck
No. A lot of those are good.
Fuck those games.
Monopoly.
You can get Candyland at a store that I will talk to you about later right now for like $6.
Candyland is just Candyland, man. Candyland is like a classic.
Yeah, Monopoly is just Monopoly.
No, Monopoly is a capitalist simulator. Monopoly is fucking terrible.
But if you play new Monopoly, you have debit cards and shit. There's
Oh.
no money anymore.
Oh my god.
What the fuck? Are you kidding
Monopoly
me?
is a terrible fucking game. It should not be played by anyone.
Monopoly,
ever.
if you can play Monopoly for more than 3 times around the table with your family or friends, I applaud you. Because I have never been more bored in my life than when I tried to go back and play Monopoly with my younger brother and my wife, and we just couldn't do it. I made it like 2 times around the board. I'm like, I fucking hate this game. I can't do this.
I hate Monopoly.
I walked away from the table.
It's
Apparently
always
my
the same
brother
fucking
won.
turnout. It's whoever owns certain properties wins the fucking game. Like whoever owns that certain street wins the game. It's statistic. It's statistical.
Or you always get that one player who just will never trade anything, no matter how bad or good they're doing.
Yeah, because he's a tool.
Yeah.
But just like real capitalism.
You'll get the Donald Trump player.
I
know what I have and what I need.
Alright, anyways. So that was Bluffing Games, and a little rant about how much Monopoly sucked.
Yep.
So next week, we will be doing another new game of an old setting. We will be covering the 3 editions of the Fantasy Flight released Star Wars RPGs. So tune in. It's going to be a great episode. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I really like these RPGs. So tune in next week, Game It All. This is Phatter Phil and Fat Adam. And catch me in various Game It All podcasts in the future.
And may your dice always roll what's needed.
Yeah, sure.